Okay.
Okay.
So I've been back to back all day. I didn't get a chance to read the consult, but did you have like aggression labeled or something?
So he growls at other dogs.
Okay.
And attacks.
And he attacks. He, lunges at smaller dogs, especially.
I don't know.
You think he attacks them?
I think he lunges at all sorts of dogs.
Yeah.
No matter the size.
He usually gets along better with larger dogs, but this weekend he demonstrated some very poor judgment.
Okay. Did he bite the wrong dog?
No, he didn't bite anybody. He just growled and started, advancing aggressively towards a German Shepherd that was like 10 times his size.
Sure, it happens. How did the German Shepherd take it?
The German Shepherd turned around and walked away.
Okay. So, yeah. Scared? Okay. So he was scared of the German Shepherd. So it wasn't like ignoring it.
No, the German Shepherd was like, yeah, I don't know what your problem is. I'm not dealing with you, and just walked away.
So was this like at a dog park?
No, this is, my girlfriend is just adopting this dog. It's a highly trained 4-year-old German Shepherd.
I see.
And he had just gotten there on Thursday. I shouldn't have taken Teddy with us for the weekend, but anyway, I did. And so then Teddy met him on Saturday, and
I see.
It was
a lot for a short period of time.
Yeah.
How old is Teddy?
3.
3. Okay. When you see like the mouthiness or the biting, does it look like? Is it him correcting and setting a boundary, or do you feel like it's him just harassing another dog?
What do you think, Oliver?
I would say both, but actually mostly the first one. I think as a very particular character, Teddy seems to find offense in some of the things that other dogs do that are normal, but are rather invasive in retrospect. So,
what would be an example?
So, for example, when we're at the park, Teddy gets he'll be fine like saying hello initially, but he'll get very uncomfortable. This dog starts like sniffing him a lot and also getting in his way.
Sure. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes he looks afraid
Like cowers?
of other dogs, and that's when he attacks. Other times he's just aggressive. I don't know.
And then again, this is like in a social
No
setting?
Yeah.
Like a dog park or something?
Yeah.
Okay. Has he ever made punctures to a dog?
No.
Does it sometimes just look like he's snapping at them? Okay.
He got put in timeout in the dog hotel because he would nip at the other dogs.
He was taken out of group play
Sure.
at one of the places.
But
Have
I don't
you
know.
had Shibas before? This is your first?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You've had other dogs prior though?
Yeah. And so, I'm divorced, and the kids are with their mother half the time and me half the time, and their mother has, now 3 dogs.
Okay, I see. Anything else I should know about Teddy?
So, the other thing is he, when he's happy to see somebody, he likes to, kind of jump up on them.
Okay.
And obviously he's a small guy, but he, if you have like bare legs, he'll like, kind of scratch your legs sometimes.
Yeah.
So he just needs to be like
Correcting the jumping.
trained to not do that. He also has selective listening.
Okay.
So, you just don't know. Like sometimes you'll be like, okay, Teddy, let's go outside, and he'll follow you from one room to through other rooms and onto the back porch, and he'll be right next to you and super doing everything he's supposed to. And then another time he'll just decide to sprint all over the house and go crazy.
Okay. Is he from a breeder?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you familiar with Shibas and their background?
We did a lot of research before we before we got him. Oliver was the strong proponent of getting a Shiba.
Okay. You're Oliver, I'm assuming? Okay. So Shibas in the dog training world are kind of notorious. Okay. Partly because they're one of the most primal dogs. Obviously from Japan, all that. Them, Akita Inus, which is like the larger version of a Shiba. My logo is actually an Akita Inu, a Japanese Akita Inu. So throughout my career, I've had quite a few Shibas, and there is nothing like training a Shiba like compared to another dog. Okay, I always paint things worse for people, so this way if they go, okay, we understand what it may end up being or looking like, because he's being upfront with it. Hopefully it's not that, because I've had Shibas that were completely complacent and complicit and throughout the training, and I've had a majority of them that are like shrieking spider monkeys. Okay, and it's nothing that I'm doing. It's really just the primitiveness of the breed. Okay, and this is just kind of known in the dog training community. Okay, so Shibas are also known for being aloof, right? They kind of just do their own thing. So like what you noted, like sometimes he just wants to follow you, and then sometimes he's just like being crazy, right? Like that's to me just a Shiba. Okay, when it comes to the socialization aspect, okay, it sounds like he's setting boundaries to things that he doesn't like, which is normal. Okay, it can look bad, and sometimes it can escalate to a problem. So, like I have an 8-pound Chihuahua, who's 15 now, but many years ago when he was younger, and all my dogs were younger, I used to take him to the dog park, and he likes to think that he's bigger than he is. Okay, and there was a bulldog one time at the park, and he kept like chasing and barking at the bulldog. And I told the lady, the owner, I was like, sorry, do you want me to correct my dog? Like, I'll stop him. And she's like, no. She's like, my bulldog will address him. And sure enough, the bulldog just turns around and right and plants, and my Chihuahua just and like turn around and then left the bulldog alone for the rest of the time, right? Because the bulldog was like, I'm not having this behavior, and that's just kind of normal dog stuff, right? So here, it's kind of like with the human. Let's say, for example, you have someone who's talking to you and they're talking this close, right? And then you kind of instinctively want to take a step away because you're trying to alleviate that pressure, that discomfort there. But if they keep coming into your space, you may at some point go, hey, I need you to just like step back because you're making me uncomfortable. And if this continues and they start to pursue, you may feel threatened, and then things escalate. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So the difference is with humans, we have language, and we can communicate all these things before it escalates to physical confrontation. Dogs have a similar language. They may growl, they may show teeth or whatever, but if the other dog is not reading that or respecting those cues, then the dog goes, well, I need to tell you for real to back away, right? So if he was actually what we would dub like an aggressive dog, he would have multiple punctures on his record. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Everything he's doing is, especially when I asked, does it look like he's just snapping, right? Is he's really just setting a boundary, and he's saying, that's enough, okay? The humans can interpret it as aggressive because of how it looks, but in the dog world, it's completely normal. Where it becomes a problem is if a dog is sniffing him, he does that correction, and then the dog goes, who are you to correct me? And now that dog bites your dog to correct them for setting a boundary.
Yeah.
Right? And that's actually completely normal behavior for dogs. The issue is, obviously, you don't want any harm to come to your dog. You don't want any harm to come to somebody else's dog. And then we have liability. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So that's the weird thing. Okay? So I look at it, when I'm assessing these cases, there's certain things that I go, yes, we want to correct this. This makes sense. This we might want to taper down and stuff. And I go, there's other things I go, that's just completely normal. And can we correct it? Yes. But we're essentially correcting him for setting a boundary to other dogs. Does that, see how there's a little bit of like a discrepancy there, right? So what could happen is we start regulating him for regulating other dogs for being invasive in his space. And that can actually make him feel more threatened. Because he's going, now I don't have a way of telling you to leave me alone. And then the dog potentially gets more stressed, and then things escalate even further, right? So it's actually a balance. If I'm at the park and I have my dog, and I see he's tolerating and he's socializing and everything's fine, But then I see one dog that's particularly invasive. They keep pushing in, maybe they're pushing in a little too much, and I can start to see that he's uncomfortable, right? Is I need to step in and technically correct that dog before he feels he needs to correct that dog, right? So if we're at a kid's playground and we have our child and they're playing, and you start to see one child being a little bit too aggressive in the play, right? At some point, it may be the child goes, leave me alone, and escalates on their own, or we have to step in and go, hey, you're playing a little bit too aggressively, you need to calm it down,
Yeah.
right? But then we have another problem. We have the parent of that child, right? And they go, hey, what are you doing lecturing my kid, right? And like, well, it's getting a little bit too much. Well, I thought it was just happening just fine, right?
And that's the hardest part. Like,
Yes.
the other dog.
Yeah, especially in Oz Park.
Sure, yeah, I'm familiar. I just came from there from earlier today, yeah. So that's where things get tricky because now you're dealing with another person and their opinion,
Yeah.
okay? So, it's all making sense though. So there is possibility that through how I would like phrase it as discipline, he learns to tolerate more. There is no guarantee though, because every dog has a threshold, right? Especially if a dog is being just too invasive, because it does happen. Just like with humans, there's people that are rude on interaction, right? It happens the same thing for dogs. Except for dogs, they regulate each other, right? As for humans, if things started to escalate, you know, someone might call the cops, and then a third party comes in and intervenes, right? The obedience stuff, to a degree, not a problem. You know, correcting jumping on people and stuff like that, not a problem. It's the social interaction that's the trickiest part.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely instances where he just, you know, unprovokes. You know, it's almost like he's like, you looked at me cross-eyed, like, that's not okay. I'm going to set you straight.
Sure.
And,
Now, on leash, if you're walking with him, does he have any issues with dogs passing?
Yes.
Leash reactivity?
I usually keep them away from other dogs.
Okay, so if you're
So I don't get in, you know, any kind of trouble.
okay, so if you're walking with Teddy and you see a dog, you
Yes.
step to the side, and then he may start barking at that dog.
he doesn't bark.
No.
He's
I
very
just put him
quiet.
on the other side of me.
So just to be avoidant, just in
Yeah,
case.
just avoiding
I
the
see.
situation.
I
That's
see.
what I'm
But if you're like not paying attention, and sometimes Oliver's younger sister is walking Teddy, you know, I mean, she's 14, so she's old enough to pay attention, but sometimes she's kind of like not really paying attention. And then, you know, dog walks by, and all of a sudden Teddy's like, "Grrr."
Yeah, I got you. Okay, so that would be leash reactivity.
Yeah.
That
Okay,
is-
that's most likely a dog getting too close. Okay, now that can be addressed. Okay,
Yes, yeah.
because it's I don't care that he likes the dog because it's not realistic to expect the dog to like every dog. Just like with humans, there's people that I meet that I don't like, and I'm sure there's people that meet that don't like me. Right, that happens. Same thing for dogs. However, if we're walking, he should be able to just mind his business. Even if a dog gets close, technically he should be able to also just be able to keep himself in check. But that's another situation where I told owners, like, if you see your dog become defensive because a dog got too close, that's letting you know that you should actually be taking that lead for him, right? So I deal with a lot of aggression and a lot of leash reactivity cases. That's my specialty. And initially, it's the owner can't even walk the dog because it's so bad. And then we get that controlled and reined in, and I'll tell the owner, not that your dog is under control, they're no longer the problem. But if a dog comes too close to your dog's personal space, they're going to feel threatened. And then you may see something, and that makes sense. So that's where I tell my clients, that's where you need to advocate for the dog and go, okay, you're doing good about not being a jerk anymore, but now I'm going to make sure that someone doesn't bring their dog too close into your personal space so you don't feel threatened. Does that make sense? Otherwise, because this is a relationship, right? And I just had a conversation with a client the other day. She has a big bulldog, okay? A huge dog. And she got the dog to feel safe when she would walk, okay? And the dog's a chicken, okay? And he has some reactivity issues because he is a chicken, right? And I told her, because you want to treat this dog as your protector, you're putting the dog in a position it's not comfortable with, which is causing him to just bluff and act aggressively as a bluff to deter people. And I'm like, but that's not good because sooner or later it could escalate. I was like, what you want is you need to be in control. So the dog goes, okay, you're in control, so I don't have to feel like I'm in control because I'm a chicken and I'm not built for this. right? And I told her, I'm like, and if anything, when people see you walking your dog and they're completely under control and they're heeling next to you perfectly and they stop when you sit and all that stuff, that's actually, the person goes, I don't know how well trained that dog is, right? That's for me the deterrent, and that's because a protection dog is really, really well trained. And I told her, I was like, if you want protection, you need to train for protection. You just can't assume the dog is capable of it. Even though it looks like a big, powerful dog, I've had Rottweilers that are 150 pounds. They're also just scared of everything. Like, it doesn't matter. It's just the look is the deterrent, okay? So here, same thing. And I told her, you have to advocate. So if you see a potential stressor coming into your dog space, you have to speak up. And then the dog goes, something came, I felt uncomfortable, but you did something, and whatever you did caused that to go away, so then that means I don't have to worry about it anymore, okay? So that's kind of like the opposite end of reactivity is, yes, we want the dog to be able to contain themselves and not do those things, but at the same time, it's, I'm gonna speak up so that it doesn't get to the point that the dog thinks they need to do something, okay?
Yeah.
Questions on that?
That's what I usually tell people, please don't let your dog come too close.
Sure.
So they stay away and we are fine.
Has he ever had a dog lunge and bark at him? Like in passing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes? How does he respond? Doesn't care?
No, doesn't care.
Okay, good. Yeah, so it really sounds like he just has like a perimeter thing.
Well,
like,
if he wants to go ahead and attack, I will.
and this is when he's walking?
Yeah.
Does he tend to walk kind of like in front of you, all over the place?
Not usually.
How does he walk?
Normally, on one side or on the other side.
Okay,
He pulls me on the grass if he wants to
Go sniff.
business, yeah.
okay. Have you done any previous training before? What was that? Food?
Yeah, treats, you mean, or
Puppy.
positive incentive. But
Puppy
yeah. I mean,
face and
when
then-
yeah, when we first got him, we had a trainer come to the house some, and we worked with him some.
And
Okay.
last year we went to the place, Oliver, remember? The guy did a good job, but it was only 3 sessions.
Okay.
And he was kind of busy, so
Yeah.
I did not like it a lot.
The trainer was busy?
Yeah.
I see. So it wasn't like...
Other dogs and
Yeah,
everything
it was-
that was going on in his life.
Oh, I
Not
see.
the best setup.
Was it a group class or was it one-on-one?
No, it was one-on-one, but there were a lot of distractions.
I gotcha.
Yes.
Okay. And he wasn't able to kind of work you through the distraction or anything? I
He
gotcha.
was, but it did not work for Teddy very well.
I see. And was this still with food or was this with any other kind of training tool?
Treat.
Treat still?
Yeah.
Okay.
What do you use?
So we use remote collar. Are you familiar with remote collar?
I mean, I have a sense, but
So there's prong collar, e-collar, which is remote collar, gentle leader, clicker-based training. There's a lot of different methods. Okay. I use remote collar, which is a lot of people call it the shock collar. Okay. It's not a shock. It's not electricity. It's a miniaturized TENS unit. Are you familiar with TENS therapy? The muscle stimulator, right? So an e-collar is a miniaturized version of a TENS unit. It's a muscle stimulator. The reason why I train with that tool is because it gets me on and off leash control no matter the setting, okay? The problem with any other tool is with food, if there's something more rewarding in the environment, if there's something more stressful in the environment, the food no longer has value, right? If we're using gentle leader, prong collar, slip leash, slip chain, harness, whatever other training tool, you need to have a leash on the dog to have some kind of control and communication. The moment you take the leash off, we no longer have that, okay? Remote collar is the only tool at the press of a button that still gives you the ability to reinforce, okay? So when people think about it, they go, oh, like you're electrocuting the dog. I go, no, it's not like the electric chair. It's literally just a muscle stimulator. If I put on my hand, you'll see my thumb move like this because it's stimulating the muscle, which then causes the thumb to move, okay? So for the dog, if it's placed on the neck here, you would see this happen on the shoulder, okay? So I like to refer to the e-collar as a bite on a button. Dogs are physical creatures. Teddy here is giving you a really great example, okay? So when he feels like a dog is being invasive, or if the dog is going into his personal space and he doesn't like it and he wants to set a boundary, you're seeing this behavior, right? So the reason why I don't consider it to be aggressive is those are technically corrections, where he's saying, I don't like what you're doing right now, right? And like you said, oh, if a dog looked at him cross-eyed and he does the behavior. To the human, we go, it was just the way the dog looked at you. But the dog's like, yeah, but I didn't like it. So I'm going to teach the dog not to do that, right? Imagine if you're at a restaurant and you're eating and you're minding your own business and you see someone across the restaurant and they're looking directly at you nonstop. Are you going to feel uncomfortable, right? So you may go, hey, is there a problem, right? But we wouldn't just get up and punch the person, right? But if that, again, continue to...
But we don't do that.
Yeah, maybe you want to, right? Dogs, they don't really have that kind of social, how do you say, oh, that's looked down upon kind of thing. He just goes, I don't like the way you looked at me. So like, this was an old kind of dog saying, but like you shouldn't look a dog straight in the eyes because some dogs will find it to be intimidating, right? And there are some dogs that'll begin to growl and even snap at you to tell you like, I don't like that direct eye contact, right? So aggression is when a dog is, we're getting bites, like it's punctures, it's repeated, it can be for like the littlest thing, you know, like I had a client that the dog was sleeping on the bed and they moved their foot a little bit and the dog bit them on the foot and it was a pretty severe bite, right? Because the dog was a resource guarder and they let it go unchecked for so long that it could just continue to increase where the dog was biting them for every little thing. Like that's aggression, right? Here, he's just, and this is a part of the Shiba personality, he's just setting boundaries and he's using that physicality, right?
Yeah, I mean, although the interaction with the German Shepherd, like, you know, we're in the kitchen, the German Shepherd's on one side of the island, Teddy's on the other, and then Teddy kind of walks around the island, starts growling at him, and then kind of like running at him. And I'm like, okay.
Was this in your home setting?
This was in a home, yeah.
Was it your home?
No,
Oh, it was their home?
yeah.
Has he been there before?
No,
No, first time?
yeah.
Okay. Were you in the home and then the German Shepherd entered, or did you go in at the same time?
No, so,
So when we got there, he was in a cage, and Teddy didn't
yeah, the German Shepherd was in a cage.
Yeah, and Teddy didn't realize he was in a cage until much later on, and upon realizing, Teddy didn't really care. He saw him and sniffed the cage, but left. And I was surprised he didn't care too much, but you know, he was out, Teddy and I were outside, and the dog gets let out of the cage, and instead of going to say hi, Teddy just is laying down.
Yeah, Teddy just kind of walks into the kitchen and lies down on the other side of the island and was like, yeah, whatever, I don't care.
It was very strange. It was like, you know.
And then the German Shepherd
And
entered?
the German Shepherd was on the other side, didn't come in, invade Teddy's space or anything. And then, I don't know, we were all just kind of standing there talking. All of a sudden, Teddy got up and walked around the island and started growling at the German Shepherd, and then like started like lunging at him.
Was he protecting you guys?
I mean,
Teddy was not protecting anyone.
So, just to make sure I'm understanding,
It was just
he's
a
already
move.
there.
Yes.
German Shepherd enters and then goes and rests on the other side?
so no,
Yeah.
Teddy went outside. So the German Shepherd had been in his crate.
Okay.
Teddy had seen the German Shepherd in the crate, sniffed at him, whatever. Then Teddy went outside with Oliver into the backyard. Oliver and Teddy came back in. At that point, the German Shepherd was out of the crate. And Teddy kind of looked at the German Shepherd and was like, whatever.
I didn't care.
And then Teddy went and just lay down on the kitchen floor. And the German Shepherd's on the other side of the kitchen island. And then at some point, just kind of out of the blue, Teddy gets up, goes around the island, starts growling at the German Shepherd.
Did they have visual of each other in that time? Could you tell?
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, they could definitely see each other.
They could see each other when Teddy was lying down.
Well, I think when Teddy was lying down, you know, the German Shepherd was kind of walking around, so Teddy definitely knew of his presence and saw him, I'm assuming, a few times. But then when he walked around the counter, I feel like he was just trying to start stuff. I don't know. I didn't get the sense that it was because he was setting a boundary. And the whole time that he was let out, Teddy was acting like he was like some superior being.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of, I found it unusual that there was like a dog, a new friend walking around, and you know, he refused to interact. He's like sitting there outside and like, you know, trying to seem
Had Teddy been in that house before?
No.
No? Okay. So here, one thing to keep in mind is that dogs don't do things for no reason. Okay? I know, and I get this a lot from clients where they go like, oh, it was unpredictable. That's not true. Dogs aren't like humans in the sense that like as a human, like someone could just decide like, I'm gonna punch this person next to me. And it's like, just do it, right? For the sake of doing it. Dogs don't do that. So it sounds like potential, that's what I was trying to figure out. So one thing that would make sense to me is if Teddy was laying down and then the German Shepherd came in and then laid down and then Teddy started to do that, that makes sense. Because now he's starting to establish some kind of boundary there. Or you're outside, German Shepherd is then let out, right? You come back in and he's like, you were in a cage before, right? So now you're loose. The German Shepherd's just being aloof, but then just the presence, he's like, I don't like this, right? And let's say he was laying down and the German Shepherd was moving, potentially territorial behavior,
a little
right?
bit, yeah.
Or he's just like, you know what, I don't like you moving. And again, it sounds dumb, right? But that's just what dogs do sometimes, you know? That can be corrected because if he's gonna see that German Shepherd recurringly, right, that's obviously gonna be a relationship. That is something that can be worked on, right? But when we talk about like the random dog at the park, that's where things get a little bit tricky because like I said, if another dog is being too invasive, technically speaking, we would have to step in to correct the dog so that he feels like he doesn't have to, but then you have to deal with the owners going like, you know, this is a dog park, my dog should be able to sniff your dog's butt, and that's a whole different conversation, okay? But the German Shepherd thing, that can be addressed. And has he met the German Shepherd again?
No, this was what, on Friday that it happened?
Yeah, that was on Friday.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we decided just to keep them separate for the weekend because we were just there for the weekend.
Sure, I gotcha. Well, I'm assuming he'll see the German Shepherd.
He'll
again,
see
right?
the German Shepherd
Okay.
again.
So, the reason why that's more realistic is because, again, we'll see the dog over and over again, and then we can always work through things and teach them, like, no, you're not going to bully the dog or what have you. We do have to be mindful. Sometimes, it just depends, just for the German Shepherd as FYI, usually takes a dog 2 to 4 weeks to settle into a new home setting.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the beginning, German Shepherd could be like very reserved, very quiet, and then all of a sudden 2 weeks to a month in, you're starting to see the real dog come out, right? Is sometimes when we rein in one dog, right, the other dog will start to do the same thing to Teddy. Does that make sense? So then you have to address both of them, okay? That's not a guarantee, that's just something that I've seen in the past. If the German Shepherd was already around for a couple of years and we already had a good idea of their temperament, then I would say you know what you're going to walk into. Okay. So, going back to the training tool and everything, the way it would work, right, is we have to do what's called conditioning, and that's through obedience training. Okay. So like the first thing we always teach is the heel, which is walking on the leash. Leash pulling and leash reactivity are the two most common things that we deal with. So heel helps resolve both those things on the first class. Okay, so the owner feels like, great, I'm already working on my problem behaviors. But also with conditioning, it's important because most people walk their dogs 3 times a day, 7 days a week. So that's 3 times a day, 7 days a week that you're practicing this training exercise, right? So e-collar, I like to call it a bite on the button, is unnatural to a dog because it's a muscle stimulator, right? So we have to teach them how to interpret the collar, and I would like the dog to perceive it similar to a dog bite. So then we're talking to him in his own language, so to speak, right? So let's say we do the conditioning, and then on the 3rd class, you want to work on him with the German Shepherd, right? So then we would have that class. But now, let's say he starts to do that bully behavior, right? Now I can correct him for the bully behavior and essentially tell him that's not allowed. Does that make sense? And we don't have to worry about having a leash on him. We don't have to worry about how far he is, depending on the model. You get up to from half a mile to a mile range, which is obviously more than enough for the standard family pet. Okay, so remote collars are designed for hunting dogs, and hunting dogs obviously travel very far when they're fetching the bird or what have you. For the average dog owner, he's probably not going to get further than like 30 to 50 feet away from you. Okay, so we can start nitpicking at these behaviors and start teaching them what's allowed and what's not allowed. Okay, now one thing that we can't guarantee is I can't guarantee that he will like the German Shepherd. Okay, he could hate the German Shepherd for all I know, but if he can at least coexist. The bare minimum that we always expect from dogs is that they coexist and they're not looking for a fight, that they're not bullying the other dog and harassing him and all that stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I mean, he likes the German Shepherd that lives at their mother's house. So
Yeah, he gets along well with her. But she also tolerates a lot of the German Shepherd.
he kind of like, he'll like pull you on the leash. We're like a few blocks apart. He'll pull you on the leash and like tell you to go there.
Oh, because he knows the route.
He knows the route. Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else that you're trying to accomplish with this dog?
That's about it.
I mean, it would be great if he would just,
Is it possible to make them sometimes off the leash? I mean,
Yeah.
after the training.
to be able to walk off leash and
To play
just
with other dogs, because he doesn't have it.
Wait a minute.
Sometimes when I let him go, he would run like crazy around the park. So I'm
So you mean like a
afraid he's
recall?
gonna cross the street or.
Sure. Yeah.
Although, I mean, we have in Oz Park let them, we used to do this more. We would let them out, where the dogs are running around off leash. We'd let him go and he'd run around like a crazy guy, super fast. And, and then eventually, and it would always be like, is he going to come back or not? And then, he would come back and he'd get tired and, then we'd put his leash
so
back
you
on
need a
and
recall.
go. Yeah.
I don't know.
But then he started to get in altercations with those dogs, and we're like, okay, we just can't trust him to like run around off leash. So
Sure, I got you. Yeah. So obedience, to a degree, isn't the problem. So going back to his breed, right, is when you've trained as many dogs as I have, and then you train a Shiba, and you go, that is completely not normal, right? I always bring that up to people because it catches them off guard. Okay, it has nothing to do with the tool, because the first thing you're going to think is like, well, you're shocking the dog, and that's why they're shrieking or whatever. And they go, no, that's just what Shibas do. There's some Shibas where even with a standard flat collar, that you'll put pressure on the neck and they'll just throw a fit. I had one Shiba that literally flipped upside down and then grabbed the leash with all four paws, like a spider monkey, and was shrieking. And I was doing nothing. I literally just tried to walk the dog, and all of that stuff happened. And the owner was like, that's what we want to fix, right? So I'm like, okay, this is something.
And when he was a puppy, I mean, you couldn't like turn him upside down and rub his belly. I mean, he would shriek and freak out. And now he's like, he's much more mellow.
Somehow in one session they broke it out of him. They just turned him upside down, and at first it was the loudest noise that ever came out of him. And then, wait a few minutes, he did it again, and it was a little bit less. Did it like 2 more times, and then I got to do it. And then eventually, he just stopped.
When he was a puppy?
Yeah, ever since then, he never.
So that's what I'm talking about, right? That's just how they vocalize.
Yeah.
Whereas most dogs would like, they might bark or they make a little yip or whatever. Shibas shriek.
Yeah.
Okay. So it looks worse than it is. We work the dog through it, and it's similar where it's like the first time it's bad, the second time it's less and less and less and less, and eventually the dog's like, oh, there's nothing to be doing on plus at all.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. We haven't heard him make that noise for quite a while.
Yeah. The reason is
we
with
put
the
on-
remote collar, because it's a stressor, there is some level. Have you experienced a tension unit before? Like the muscle contraction? Have you ever seen those videos where they recreate labor contraction pains in men?
No.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Everybody always laughs, right?
Where
So
they
labor
recreate-
contractions are obviously very uncomfortable.
Yes, they
It's
are.
an intense, right? Because you're trying to push that baby out. Is it similar, but we're operating on a much lower frequency or setting, okay? So our collars have 127 respective levels in increments of 1, okay? So it's very nuanced. So right before you guys arrived, I was working with a boarding train right now. He started at 15, he ended at 33, but I have literally 15, 16, 17, 18, like these very incremental settings that allow me to fine tune it to the dog. So that's what I help you do with the training, depending how you wanting to approach it if you decide to move forward, okay? All my dogs older than 6 months that leave my training programs are all trained on remote collar. My ceiling for training is up here, and the only tool that's gonna get me up here is the remote collar, okay? If you look at my prices, they're very expensive. I've had clients in the past go, Jesse, I don't want to use e-collar. I want to do food only. And I just tell them, I won't train your dog. Because I know when you finish the program, you're going to look at how much you paid and what you got, and you're going to go, this guy ripped me off, right? So, and I've been doing this for 15 years. I know all the training tools under the sun, and remote collar to me is just the best training tool, okay? Are you looking to do like in-person, or are you trying to do like a board and train type program?
Probably some blend.
Okay, so technically a board and train is a blend because we train the dog. I do training videos with your dog displaying the whole process so you understand how it works, okay? And then you also get private one-on-ones with the program,
Okay.
okay? There's pros and cons to both approaches. With the board and train, the pro is I get a lot done in a short period of time.
Yeah.
Okay. The con is all the training is tied to me and
Yeah,
the staff.
yeah.
So we have to transfer that to you. That's
Yeah.
pretty standard for any board and train. With an in-person program, the pro is you learn everything yourself from the ground up. Okay. The con is it takes time. So think of 3 weeks of your time as 1 week of my time. Okay. Because this is my career. This is what I do. Whereas for you guys, you have your life, you have your kids, you have the work, all that stuff, right? It doesn't, you're gonna get the same kind of quality of training. It's just, there's gonna be work regardless of what you do, except with one of them, you're doing all the work yourself. And everything is tied to you from the get-go. Whereas with Born and Train, I do the work for you, I set a foundation, and then you watch the videos, you do what the videos teach you, and if there's anything that maybe you're not picking up on, that's what the follow-ups are for.
And so, do you also explicitly do kind of the transfer work?
Yes.
Okay.
For them. So if you do a board and train, let's say you do a 2-week program. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4-week programs. You get a video for each week we have the dog.
Okay.
The first week is always the longest, anywhere between 2 to 3 hours. It just depends on how difficult the dog is. It depends on how old they're taking to the training. Some dogs are a bit more dense than others, right? But I teach everything from the ground up and I record it. I record the first session of everything that we teach. So it's sit, stay, down, come, place, heel. 6 minutes, okay? And you see it happening in real time. So if we see him be a Shiba, I work him through being a Shiba. And you will see the process or the progress from beginning to end. We go, wow, he started here and then he ended here, right? Once that video is done, it usually takes me 3 days to record, and then I edit it, I put it together, I send it to you, okay? And I continue on with the program. You can begin watching that video, okay? At the start of the second week, we start to transfer towards the long leash. So now we're moving towards off-leash already. That video is typically anywhere between 30 to 45 minutes because I'll be learning in one. I'm simply showing you how to advance the training, okay? I send that video when it's done. I tell people, don't worry about watching it until you're ready. The program ends, you pick up your dog, and then I suggest you start applying what you learned from the first video, okay? After a couple of weeks, maybe a month, you come back and say, hey, Jesse, everything's working really well, but we are struggling with recall. That's super common, okay? So then you schedule a follow-up from the board and train that comes with the program, and then you go, I want to work on this. We got everything else from the video, but this is where we struggle. And then I help you fix that problem. Okay? Let's say you're having issues with the video, right? That I think comes from the video, but you have follow-ups, and the follow-ups can also be used to address things that the video didn't cover. Okay? I don't have any issue covering anything with a follow-up. So we have it where we get sometimes like, the obedience is great, we know what to do, but my dog has issues with the first starter. Then we need to follow up with it. Okay. So it really just comes down to, do you want to learn with your dog and kind of just get hands-on yourself and just take your time? Or would you rather have that kind of a foundation and then you just kind of pick up where the dog is leading?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to learn with the dog, but it's probably unrealistic, so I think we have to do the foundation approach.
Sure. In regards to...
Look, he's distraught by that.
It's okay, Tad.
I'll just say, was it a drip there?
I think so. Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
So, and so for the board and train, how long do you have them?
For as long as you decide. So I typically recommend if you're already wanting like kind of off-leash type stuff, at minimum 2 weeks.
And do you like to keep them straight through, or do you kind of like?
So for a board and train, he is here 24/7 for the period of time that you need him. The other option is a daycare train program. A daycare train is done on in the morning, during the day. It's the same process. I always tell people when you do a daycare train, especially when you do the dog, act like they learn something. Until you start implementing the training, you're not going to see any change. Okay? Once you get the video and you start implementing, then you start to see the okay? So it's up to you if you want to drive back and forth, Monday through Friday or whatever, for the daycare train, or if you want to leave them for a period of time. So like up sometimes like this kind of a vacation. Right? So then you get your boarding, day one of the boarding, day four of the training, and you kind of up. So if you're wanting, if you know you want off, I suggest a minimum of 2 weeks, because by the second week you're already transferring to off-leash, and then you're so you watch week 1, you get all that stuff done. Maybe we have a follow-up or 2, and then you progress to week 2. Okay, he's not going to forget anything, and then you start training towards off-leash. There's still going to be work there for you, but just the bulk of it is done. And then if you need a follow-up for the off-leash stuff, you stay on all the class for the boarding program. And that we cover the follow-up too. I think with a 2-week board and train, you get 2 videos in holding about anywhere between 2.5-ish to 4-ish hours. And then we have, I believe it's 3 1-hour follow-up sessions. And this is on my website as well. If you do a 3-week program, I believe you get 5 1-hour follow-up sessions, and then another video, of course. And then the 4-week program, you're getting, I think, a total of 7 1-hour follow-up sessions, plus another video for the whole course, 1 for each week. Okay? So when a client does a 4-week program, essentially they're going, I want this dog as close to off-leash as possible. So it's just kind of less work for them to do. But I tell everybody there's still going to be work to do. Okay? And the phases is, the first week, we were shaping everything, foundation. Second week, we progress to the long leash. I train in this room, so there's no distraction. By the 3rd week, if the dog is social, they're doing long leash in a group of dogs, so now the training's around distractions. By the 4th week, they're in the group of dogs with no leash. Okay? So we're already getting them to no leash, but that's again with me and my staff. We still have to transfer all that stuff to you. So that's why there's more classes with those programs, because it's still going to take time. Okay? So it's like buying a vehicle that has like all these fancy functions, and you got to read the manual and of course use them, and then you learn how to actually do it. Okay? So the dog will have the skills. I actually then catch you up to the dog.
Yeah.
But at minimum, I would suggest 2 weeks. If you want to do longer, just to get them closer to off-leash, you absolutely can. It also would warrant you more follow-ups.
So, but I mean, can we start with 2 weeks and then do another 2 weeks later on to get them further up?
Yes.
Or?
The only thing would be we don't really prorate programs. So like a 1 week is $1,750 and a 2 week is $2,750, because the client is already saying, I want this much training up front, right? So if you came back for another week, because we're still progressing.
No. I mean, we would do a 2 week to start.
Sure.
And then, and then it's just like, okay, then if we want to do like another, progress towards off-leash with other dogs or whatever, maybe that needs another 2 week training later on. So it
Whatever
sounds
you
like,
like,
then you would, that would end up costing more than doing 4 weeks straight, I guess.
Well, 4 weeks straight would be $4,750.
Okay.
So when you do it straight, the first week is $1,750, then 2 weeks is $2,750, 3 weeks is $3,750, 4 weeks is $4,750.
Yeah.
So when we have the dog straight through, it's just a grand extra.
Yeah.
But then after the dog is left, if they come back for another week, it goes back to the $1,750, because we're having to reschedule and all the other stuff with the facility. So it's completely up to you. At minimum, I would suggest 2.
Yeah.
Okay. The only variable is simply his behavior.
Yeah.
Right. So if the videos accomplish what they're intended to do, which is close the gap between his training from here to you can use all your follow-ups for the German Shepherd and the Oz Park situation and stuff like that. Completely fine.
Yeah.
If it's for whatever reason we're struggling with recall or what have you, and you use all 3 classes on recall, then it doesn't leave anything for the behavioral stuff. But then you could always pick up like in person, like separate private sessions. You know, so you may not need another boarding train. You just may pick up a couple of private sessions.
Yeah.
To close the gap on those other things.
Yeah, yeah. And so we can do private session here or at Oz Park?
Correct.
Or at the house or whatever?
I was at Oz Park earlier until 2, and then I left back here, and that's why Tina booked you here, because I was already back at the facility.
Yeah.
But as long as the weather is permitting, I train at Oz Park. Eventually it does get a little too cold, then I move back to the facility. The follow-ups don't expire, so for whatever reason, it's like, oh, it's already wintertime and we want to train at Oz Park. If it's not pertinent, you can always just wait till the next spring or summer and then have your follow-ups then. Yeah, completely up to you.
Yeah, yeah.
Do we purchase this in color or do we?
What I would suggest is if you move forward, I'm going to hold off on which model to suggest, and while he's here, I'll figure it out, okay? Technically speaking, he falls under the 280C, which is meant for a 35-pound dog and under, okay? But I do get small dogs that are very resilient, okay? We also want to factor in that he's got that kind of dense Shiba coat, and that does impact the, how'd you say, the connection of the collar. So what I would do is I would figure that out for you, and then I'll go, okay, this is going to be the correct model for your dog, okay? Other questions?
So if we wanted to do the 2-week, do you have availability to start them, later this week or something?
Yeah, so I know so I only take 4 at a time. I have one right now. I have another coming in a week, and another coming on August 1st. So to answer your question, yes, there's availability for the boarding trains. We do need a new clear fecal. Any vaccination, updated vaccinations as well. Tina or Maria would help you create what's called a Ginger profile. It's our facility software that allows us to track all the dogs that come in and what programs they're doing and stuff. And all that is uploaded to their profile. There's a contract to sign as well. And they would help you just with the scheduling process and everything else. Okay, so if for example, you're wanting to start by next Monday, if we have all the documents that we need, contract to sign, profiles created, payment submitted, we can get them.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm going out of town, so we would probably want to start them on Friday, the 19th.
Okay.
And then, get them back on like.
What's today, Tuesday?
Today is Tuesday the 16th.
So.
I mean, he's all up to date, so it should be.
Do you know when his last fecal was?
Did Alyssa check his poop last time?
June 7th. When was she here?
Yeah, so like a month ago, 5 weeks ago.
That should be fine. Okay. The only reason with the fecal we're a little bit particular is we had a dog, or 2 dogs technically. They went to Europe, and they last minuted everything. And they gave us the fecal the day before their boarding stay. Everything was clear. The next morning, the dogs pooped worms all over the poop, but they were already in Europe. So this is 18,000 square feet, so we're like, it's fine, we have plenty of space. We kept the dogs isolated on their own or what have you, but things like that happen. A month doesn't seem like a whole lot, but especially if he's like going to dog parks and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't interact with other dogs much, so he's pretty.
But yeah, you can submit all that stuff, and then as long as you have it by the 19th and everything submitted, you're good to go.
Okay. Yeah, so we would, Yavorka would drop him off on the 19th, and then would pick him up on August 5th, which is just over 2 weeks.
Okay, so then you can add boarding days?
Yeah, okay, so then we'd add a few boarding days.
Yep, that's not a problem. Other questions?
How do we start?
Tina or Maria will reach out to you, and I'll let them know that you're looking to start the 19th, so they'll get that process rolling right away. They'll send you a link to the Ginger profile. Once you create your profile, the training contract's in our software, okay? And you can read through it, ask any questions if you like. It's pretty straightforward. And then once that's signed and submitted, and we have all our documents, and you tell them you want the 19th through August 5th or what have you, boarding train and then boarding, they'll do that, they'll invoice you. Payment is due in full for the program to start, okay? And then the collar thing, I'll figure out here, and then once I figure out which collar your dog needs, they'll then send you an invoice for the collar as well.
Okay. And is there outdoor space here?
We do. We don't have like a grass outdoor space. It's open garage. So when you walk out back, you have a garage cover, but then it's open to the outside, and then it's cement. We're hoping to do turf, like the dog turf or whatever in the future. And then the rest of our space is inside. You can kind of see it from here on the camera. On the top right, that's our main kind of activity room. Okay. So here on this side of the camera is we have an ISO pen and then a play space. You see these dog beds? We do what's called duration work. So your dog will be taught how to sit still for a period of time. So if you ever go to a restaurant and you want him to just kind of, you know, not be wandering, a lot of people do that, is like he would be doing duration work while there's dogs on treadmills, there's dogs playing, there's dogs being trained, we got employees going in and out and stuff, and he's kind of just sitting there while all this activity is going on, okay? And then of course, since he's social, he'll get, or you know, can be social, and we'll keep an eye on his behavior too, see if there's anything that we can correct while he's here with us, but he'd be socializing. And then our kennel space is over to the side. All the dogs have 4x6 kennels. We have a few wire crate kennels, but almost all the dogs use just a 4x6. He'll also get a complimentary Caranda bed. A Caranda bed is just is that actually. Mm-hmm. It's an antibacterial, indestructible dog bed or whatever that we give all our boarding trains complimentary. So he's not just on the floor. In the wintertime, we have heated floors, which dogs like to sleep on. You'd be surprised how often like we'll have the bed in there for the dog, and the dog just rather be on the floor itself because it's cool, especially in the summertime. Any other questions?
And food?
We bring the food, I assume.
Correct, yes.
Yeah.
We need meals to be individually bagged. So we do breakfast and dinner. If he takes a lunch, you would just pack him a lunch, and then we just make sure to mark his.
Yeah, he just eats twice a day.
Okay.
But he's fancy. He eats refrigerated food.
So he's on raw. That's
Yeah.
fine. Just please bag each meal individually. It just
Okay.
makes it easier to thaw, and then we just dump it out into his food bowl, and then he gets his meals.
Oh, okay, it could be frozen.
Yes, it can be frozen.
But we have to like thaw it, put it in individual
What
things
does he
and then
eat?
freeze it again.
Like, is it like patties, or is
So-
it like a?
so-
I can cut these somehow.
Maybe, yeah. So he likes to eat, his favorite food is salmon. So we tend to feed him, I know this sounds a little spoiled, but salmon mixed with, where's the food from?
Just food for
Yeah,
dogs.
Food for dogs.
That's,
I see.
he's veterinarian. So
Is it like a big sealed bag and then you
Yes,
cut out
yes,
portions?
yes.
Okay, so that's fine. Just make sure to provide the instructions
Yes.
for how it's portioned.
I will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can do that. Did you maybe want me to give you 1 week of food and then I can stop by next week and bring you?
Completely up to you. We have a
Otherwise,
freezer. We
okay.
have multiple freezers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we
Yeah.
have enough food.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, but if we're gonna bring him salmon, then you need to bring that by because it's not
Maybe
frozen.
I can bring salmon next week
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
following week and chicken.
Yeah.
He
Sure.
likes-
He likes.
So that would be portioned out.
Yes.
The other
that would
bags,
be-
because we get dogs that, I think it's just food for dogs, that we have to kind of cut it, and it'll say like half a pack AM, PM or something like that. And then we got a couple of dogs that are a quarter of a pack, that's not an issue.
I will do that.
Yeah,
I
okay.
will
Awesome.
give you instructions. and
Okay.
everything and pack everything.
Sure. Yep, no problem. Yeah, we got a number of dogs that are on raw,
Okay.
so it's not an
Okay.
issue. We have like 5 freezers here, so we can keep it refrigerated.
No problem.
Yeah, okay.
How long have you had this space?
So we bought this space at I believe it was October of 22. So in 2019, I expanded to a brick and mortar space in Logan Square. It was a 3-year lease. Managed to get through COVID. Wasn't exactly the greatest timing for us. And then the building was falling apart. The rent was expensive, and I managed. 21 was very busy because of all the dogs that people got during COVID. and I was just working nonstop, and it managed to make enough that we were able to purchase this building. So this was previously another dog daycare.
How was it?
Yeah, so it was fitted with kennels and everything, which worked out well for us.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we also have site. Me and my wife live here. We're on.
Oh, you live on
Correct.
property. Okay.
We just had our son 2 weeks ago. He was born on July 2nd.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So ahead of that, we moved here because we lived in Lincoln Park. We lived over by Trebs Park. It's just west of Oz.
Yeah.
And going back and forth with the baby, we figured it was just made more sense to just move upstairs. It's got a kitchen, a bath, and everything.
Amazing.
And then my
Right
brother
by
as well.
Garfield Park.
Huh? Oh yeah, Garfield Park, yeah. My brother lives here as well, so there's 3 people on site almost all the time. So in case there's an emergency, there's somebody here.
And how many dogs do you typically board?
We can fit up to 64 in our 6x4 kennels, and then if we ever became like overbooked, we have wire crate kennels. I also have at least another 6,000 square feet of space that we're not even using, which I might rent out to my neighbor. Have you ever seen the dogs that go to the CTA, the German Shepherds and stuff?
Oh.
They all go next door.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, so we got also security here. So, because clients always ask, they're like, oh, you're in the west side of Chicago. I'm like, we're right next to like the canines and all that stuff. Like, we're fine. So, but yeah. But in terms of boarding trains, I don't take more than 4 at a time because I don't want to be overwhelmed with my private clients and then boarding trains and not be able to give the level of quality that we're known for.
Yeah. And what's the boarding fee?
So our boarding fee is going up as of August 1st. Okay.
Just in time.
Yeah. So, just as FYI, daycare currently is $40. August 1st is going to $50. Boarding is $60 and it's going up to $80. Okay. We've tried not to do this for the past 2 years, but unfortunately, Chicago rolled out some new policies and tax increases. Our property taxes went up 40%. Okay. Out of nowhere. So we've already made budget cuts. We're appealing, but the lawyer told us there's no guarantee that the contesting is going to go through. So we're just kind of planning ahead, worst case scenario. They also just raised minimum wage out of nowhere. They announced it June 7th from what we were told. We didn't find out about it until July 11th, which was 2 days before payroll of last week. I have a number of clients that are small business owners, so like I emailed them, okay, do you guys know about this? And some of them were like, you're the first time I'm even hearing about it.
What did it go? What's it going?
So it used to be 15, now it's going to 16.20. So last year,
That's great.
they had announced the year-by-year increase in, I think, 2019. So I planned for that because it was supposed to end 2023, which it did.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, they went 15 to 16.20 and literally announced it a month ago.
It's the whole full count.
Oliver
Yeah.
wrote an article about why the minimum wage should be abolished.
What people don't understand is it just increases the cost of everything.
Yeah, that's.
Well, I used to work for $7.50 an hour, 15, 18 years ago. My rent was like $500-600, and now rent is like $1,500,
It's
$2,000.
different. Yeah,
Yeah,
I know.
I was like, so all you're doing when you raise property taxes, it's just going to increase rent. When you raise minimum wage, it's just going to increase the things that you're paying for, because the cost has to come from somewhere, right? So like just for us, like we told our, we had a live yesterday, an Instagram live to like update our clients. We told them like we had already budgeted for what the city told us to expect. And then when you turn around and then go, hey, by the way, here's these other increases, then it throws our budgeting out the window, and then we just have to increase costs or fire people. And this is a daycare. I can't have robots take care of dogs. That's why Home Depot has the checkout machines. You got one person watching 8 checkout machines, right? Because that's how they cut costs. So, doesn't make sense.
Not good.
No.
Not good. Okay. Amazing. Awesome.
All right, so if you have any questions, you let us know. I can talk to Tina Marie and let them know that you're wanting to start essentially immediately, and they'll get the ball rolling. And as long as we have all our documents and everything, we should be good to go.
Okay.
Okay, anything else?
And so you like learned. I saw on the website you learned from a guy in Miami.
Yes, Richard Hines, correct. I did a 3-month internship. Yeah. So I spent a year or two teaching myself, and I studied. If you're familiar with Cesar Milan, the dog whisperer, he used to have a TV show. I studied his methodology literally by watching his DVDs, and I started training dogs on my own. But then I hit a ceiling at some point. And then, I was doing a lot of research, and I found Richard Hines. And just, if you watch a dog that's trained by him versus every other trainer, they're completely different. Okay, and I liked that. So then I reached out to him. At the time, it was super cheap. It was $10,000 for a 3-month internship. Now it's $35,000 for a 3-month internship. So and I was his first intern. Yeah, I got a good deal. I got a great deal. Studied under him for 3 months and came back in around 2012-ish in Chicago, and have been operating since. But since I've been training dogs since 2010, roughly. So, okay.
Good.
How'd you guys hear about us, by the way?
I just started doing research on the internet.
Sure.
Liked your story.
Oh, appreciate it. Yeah, we usually get a lot of people from Oz Park and Treps Park because I had a cluster of dogs. There's at least 30 dogs within that vicinity that I trained back from 2020. So a lot of times, like when I get clients from that area, it's usually word of mouth because they saw one of my clients out there.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, it was a pleasure meeting everybody.
Yeah.
If you have any questions,
Really nice to meet you.
you let us know. Pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll be in touch.
And any questions we may have forgotten to ask, feel free to ask us and we'll get back
Of
to you.
course.
Okay, guys?